last story for tonight, I bring to you Pharaoh Says No, inspired by the book of Exodus.
Pharaoh Says No. In our last story, we learned about how Moses and Aaron were united under the call of God to free Israel from slavery. God gave them signs through Moses, and the two began to win the hearts of the people. In this story, we will see Moses and Aaron approaching the throne of Pharaoh, the heartless tyrant. They challenge him, knowing full well it is not them against Pharaoh, but Pharaoh against God, as inspired by the book of Exodus. The doors were as tall as houses. The grand opening in the throne room of Pharaoh opened with a loud rumbling as Moses and Aaron entered in with the light behind them. At the end of the wide hall adorned with ivory pillars sat Pharaoh upon his throne. Guards and noblemen of Egypt stood at his side, and priests stood behind him. Moses and Aaron looked up and spoke clearly, saying, "The Lord of Israel has spoken. He has declared, 'Let my people go, so they might worship me in the wilderness.'" Pharaoh sat motionless and said, "Who is this God that I should obey his voice? I do not know your Lord, and moreover, I will not let Israel go." Aaron spoke as a mouthpiece for Moses and said, "The God of the Hebrews has met with us. Allow us to depart for 3 days into the wilderness, so we can worship him, lest his hand be against us." Pharaoh, irritated by their very presence, replied to them, "Moses and Aaron, why would you take my slaves away? Get out of my sight and go back to your own burdens. These people are mine, and you make them rest from their work." Moses and Aaron departed. Later that day, Pharaoh ordered to the foremen to make the Hebrews work even harder. He would limit their supplies for work, but continue to give them the same workload. And he explicitly ordered their work to be heavier if they cried out to worship their God. So the people of Israel worked harder, with more beatings in the heat of the day. Their work became more exhausting, and their days dragged on longer. They looked at Moses and Aaron with bloodshot eyes and backs torn apart by whips. They groaned and said, "May the Lord judge you for this. You have sunk us even lower in the sight of Pharaoh and his men. You have put a sword in their hands to kill us." Moses left to go be with God. Moses' heart ached. He was riddled with guilt and compassion for the people, and he was mad at God for not making things easier. "Oh Lord," he cried, "why have you done this to them? Why did you send me? I have spoken to Pharaoh, but he was evil to them, and you have done nothing." Moses said these things with a heavy heart. His soul could barely take the suffering of his brothers and sisters. God spoke to Moses, not angrily, but with compassion. He comforted Moses and said, "Moses, watch and see what I will do to Pharaoh, for he will beg them to leave soon enough." God's resolve and courage could be felt. His presence was strong. He spoke again to Moses, saying, "I am the Lord. I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I am God Almighty. I made my promise to give them the land of Canaan. I have heard the suffering of my people and remembered my covenant to them." Moses lifted his head towards heaven, in awe of God, but in doubt of himself. God continued and said, "Say to my people, I am the Lord, and I will bring you out from under the burden of Egypt. I will redeem you with an outstretched arm. By my mighty hand I will perform acts of judgment on all who take away your freedom. You are not Pharaoh's people. You are my people. I will be your God, and you shall know that I am the Lord of all. As a shepherd leads his sheep, I will lead you to the land I swore to your forefathers. I am God." Moses boldly declared this to the people of Israel, but their ears were closed off to him. Their spirits were broken by slavery. Tears no longer filled their eyes. They were crumbled under the heavy hand of Pharaoh and could no longer feel anything. They looked at Moses with weary eyes, unable to hope any more. This brokenness grieved God. Pharaoh would not go unpunished for breaking the souls of his children. He turned to Moses and said, "Go back in. Tell Pharaoh to let my people go." Moses said to God, "If the people of Israel would not even listen to me, what makes you think Pharaoh will? I am not eloquent or polished with my words." The Lord's resolve to free his people did not wane. He charged Moses and Aaron to go forth and confront Pharaoh. He said, "I have made you like me to Pharaoh, and Aaron is your prophet. Go with the confidence I give you. Know this, Pharaoh will have a hard heart, but I will lay my hand on all of Egypt. My mighty acts will not be ignored. The Egyptians shall know that I am the one true God, and my judgment will spread like a wildfire." So Moses and Aaron left to go before Pharaoh once again.